ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. Well, today is PFF Day, so we're going to go through that. It's a little bit early here, so any big news and notes and whatnot we'll save for the end of the show if there's anything worth mentioning. Nothing really major going on around the league. Spate of firings. Chip Kelly is out as the offensive coordinator for the Raiders. The Giants fire their defensive coordinator, and Eagles fans are calling for Nick Sirianni to be fired after they fall to the Dallas Cowboys, which I'm told by Packers fans, Bears fans, and everyone alike, the fact that we tied at Dallas is disqualifying for something. So good to know the Eagles also not really a good team. But let's not delay any longer. All right, taking a look at PFF, we'll start with the special teams. The only bad grade was from Bo Melton. Not a ton of great grades either, but Oladapo did have a 68. Barron Sorrell with a 74, and then Zane Anderson with a 77. We had tackles by Oladapo, Chris Brooks, Tyron Hopper, who had a tackle and an assist, although he also had a missed tackle. And then Zane Anderson with 2 tackles and also what Matt LaFleur called the play of the game as he was giving him a game ball. Nothing special outside of that. Everything else graded out is about average or so. Daniel Whelan, 72.2, so he graded out pretty well for obvious reasons. But switching over to the offense, I do have some bad news. The lowest graded player on offense, again, because of freaking run blocking, which I just don't understand, is Jordan Morgan. Now, I have an idea that I know what you're thinking. Yeah, that sucks. That's unfortunate. But that's why Belton stepped in. I haven't finished. Second lowest graded player, Anthony Belton. Morgan was given a 38.9 grade, Belton 44.8. Now, with that said, both of them graded out extremely well in pass blocking, but they graded in the 30s as run blockers, and so they were given shockingly low grades. Morgan was the better pass blocker, Belton was the better run blocker, although they were both good in pass blocking, they were both terrible in run blocking. Again, in my mind, that means Morgan had the better day. According to PFF, run blocking is almost the only thing that matters, so Belton had the better day. And of course, it's completely, we're talking entirely new position for Belton. New to start, or not really start, but kind of start in a game. Start as in, like, you are officially the starter now, even though that took place in the second half of the game. So definitely willing to be patient with him a little bit. And I would say good outing as far as his ability to pass block. Same with Jordan Morgan for that matter. But we'll see how that goes. Maybe even worse, or continuing on with the bad news, the third lowest was Darian Kennard, and he was basically identical. Very good pass blocking and not good run blocking. It's just not quite as good a pass blocking and better run blocking, which obviously means he's better. Fourth worst was Sean Ryan. So bottom 4 are offensive linemen, not that anyone is surprised. Now, with that said, 2 of the guys shared a position. One of them was an extra offensive lineman. So of the 4, we're kind of talking about 2 starting offensive linemen, but still, it's not good, especially when the best offensive lineman was the 10th best player out of 20. So they were all bottom half. Rashid was 10th out of 20, Aaron Banks was 13th, Sean Ryan 17th. Actually, I lied. I was going to say, where's Zach Tom? He was 6th, so obviously Zach Tom, who still is not quite at Zach Tom levels. Pass blocking is, run blocking was disappointing for Zach Tom standards, but everybody else was below average. With that said, though, if we're just sticking with like the 55 or below thing, it was Kennard, Belton, and Morgan, with Belton and Morgan really being the only ones that were just really bad. But again, that's only because of the run blocking. The pass blocking was fantastic, so I don't know that anybody was really bad in this game. Also, not a ton of very good. If we do some heavy rounding, like high average, a little bit below 70, you've got about 8 guys. Josh Wiley was at a 68. Wicks was at a 68. Zach Tom, a 69. Malik Willis, so there's 5 70 and above. Malik Willis with a 71, although he played 6 snaps. Chris Brooks at a 71. Emmanuel Wilson at a 72. Luke Musgrave, heyo, second highest graded offensive piece at 75. Again, as far as I can tell, good blocking, at least run blocking. I can't see his pass blocking yet. And then the highest graded, Mr. Christian Watson at an 82.5. Watson now has had this grade basically 2 weeks in a row. 82.1 last week, 82.5 this week. He also had about an 80 in week 8. Sandwiched in between there is a 65 and a 67, but he currently has an 82 PFF grade. That's a jump from 70 last year. Obviously, he's been injured just about every single year, but I mean, this is definitely looking like if he can stay healthy and for the rest of the season, he is, let's put it this way, he's demonstrating to the Packers that despite the injury issues, he should get a pretty big contract. Not like number 1 wide receiver type money, like, you know, the top type of thing, but all things considered, let's say, I would guess it's a sizable amount. And the Luke Musgrave thing I find funny because, again, he had his worst game ever. So it started off once we lost our tight end. He had like one really big catch down the field, and it was, you know, everybody's breaking down film. This guy could do amazing things. Look how he's going to be so good. We're going to unleash this guy. It's going to be amazing. Then the next week he has a terrible game, and it's like, I'm done. I can't handle this guy anymore. I don't want him on my team anymore. This is the worst thing ever. I'm just over it. And then this week he's the second highest graded player on our offense. Like, this is why you shouldn't overreact. Moving on to the passing, Jordan Love was given just a 60 PFF grade, a 60 passing grade. That's his second lowest of the season. He didn't have a ton of opportunities, obviously, but there were also, there was pretty obviously some inaccurate passes in this game, a little bit more so than usual. You're running the ball a lot, so there's the flow thing. There's also injuries, whatever. I'm not worried about it. Again, it's just the nature of the game. We went through quite a few of these stats already, but 139 yards, 6.6 yards per attempt, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He made 0 big-time throws, but did throw 1 turnover-worthy play in the game. 73.3% adjusted completion percentage. Average depth of target was 8.4 yards. 0 drops in the game, 1 batted pass, 1 throwaway. His time to throw was 2.63 seconds. 85.2 passer rating, period. I always want to say win targeted, and I don't know why. Under pressure, he had a 65 grade, kept clean, 54 grade, which is really unusual. When not under pressure, he just didn't, again, under pressure way too much. 46% of his dropbacks, he was under pressure. That is not, it's not okay. And it's been like at least 3 weeks in a row, probably more. And it's been games before that, but as far as like uninterrupted games of just constant pressure, they've got to do something about that. I don't know what. We brought in an extra offensive lineman and used Brooks more, who's a good pass blocker, and he still can't get comfortable in the freaking pocket. But, again, when he was not under pressure is when they graded him out the worst. He was 8 of 12 for 74 yards, no big-time throws, no turnover-worthy plays, so it must have just been generally inaccurate passes. In fact, his adjusted completion percentage, which is kind of just an accuracy percentage, was 72.7. When under pressure, it was 75. So play action surprisingly really didn't work. 3 of 5 for 17 yards, 3.4 yards per attempt, 46 passing grade when using play action. Deep passing didn't work. There were just 1 attempt, but there were 0 for 1, 49 passing grade. This is another thing to keep in mind. Like, why didn't we throw? Well, running's working. Passing's not really working. Aside from the whole, like, this is the plan based on what they're doing, how they're doing, all that kind of stuff, and it's working and all that stuff, maybe you got a hurt quarterback that's not having his best day. You know what I mean? Just saying. As for the receivers, the highest receiving grade was actually Emmanuel Wilson. They gave him a 91 receiving grade. He only ran 3 routes, so it's not massive, but on his 3 routes, he was targeted twice, had 2 receptions, 18 yards. That's 6 yards per route run. Also added a first down and a missed tackle forced in those very limited opportunities. Next is Christian Watson with an 83.3 receiving grade. He had 2.33 yards per route run on his 49 yards with 22 routes run. He is leading the team in routes run. In fact, Dontavian Wicks outsnapped Romeo Doubs in this game. No, we don't need to massively look into that. It's just something you kind of put in your back pocket and see what happens. That's about it. It's like last week when Kingsley outsnapped Rashawn. He's overtaking him because he's better, and Rashawn's a bust. Kingsley Enagbare had 15 snaps. Rashawn Gary had 32. Okay, so what was the point of all of the energy that we put into that last week? What did that get us? Where did that get us? How did that help us in understanding things by overreacting to stuff? Did that help us in any way whatsoever? Is it possible maybe he was dealing with something? Maybe it had to do with the game style or the game flow. Maybe it has to do with the specific opponent. You use different people for different things in different packages. You know what I mean? We don't need to do this all the time. It doesn't have to be this way. I'm just saying. They're just individual data points. And I only use plural points because I'm talking about different people. But we're taking individual points, as in a point, and pretending it's a trend. We're connecting the dots on single points. Enagbare outsnapped Rashawn by a little once. Therefore, he has now overtaken him, and it's now a big thing, and it's now all this stuff. Rashawn doubled the snap count of Enagbare in this game. So what does that mean? Should we overreact to that and say, wow, I guess Enagbare is on the hot seat, and maybe he did something to really upset the coaching staff, or he looks so bad in practice that they're demoting him, or... Man, I would say no to all of that. Again, going back to Musgrave, I'm very bearish on Musgrave, as much as I've liked him a lot. It's just he's very, very, very consistently below average. He grades in the 50s kind of across the board. So again, when we connect multiple data points over multiple games, over multiple seasons, it creates a picture. But taking one catch and turning him into the next great, Jimmy Graham, and then turning a drop into he is now a pariah, and then the next week he is actually graded out quite well, and I don't see anyone overreacting to that because nobody noticed it, but once the grades come out, who knows, we'll see. These things shouldn't move the needle so much. We have to do a better job of looking at the big picture, and we're so bad at that. We're so determined. I don't know if this is just a social media thing, maybe. It probably is. But this ability to look at a single thing that happened at a single moment and then blow it up as though it's happened for all eternity. We take recency bias to insane levels, where the only information is the most recent information. So, bringing it back to this, Christian Watson had the most overall snaps at 23. Right, in the pass game. So on passing down. So there's different things. There's total snaps on the offense, including run game snaps. Then there's snaps in the passing game, and then there's routes run, because occasionally you're not running a route. Usually you are as a receiver, but not always. So total snaps taking in the pass game. Watson 23, Wicks 20, Romeo 19, Brooks 18, Fitzpatrick 13, Musgrave 10, Wiley 8, Emmanuel Wilson 8. Now, does that mean Fitzpatrick is the number one tight end over Musgrave now because he had 3 more snaps? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they're different tight ends that do different things that you put in on different situations. For example, we ran the ball all the time, and Fitzpatrick is more of a blocking tight end. Or we could just blow this up into some kind of massive drama. He had 3 more snaps than Musgrave, therefore Musgrave is being demoted, and it's just over for Musgrave, I think. Up to you how you want to handle that. You can be relaxed and calm. And, again, it's not to ignore these things. It's just a single independent data point that you put in your back pocket, try to remember for next time. If it happens a second time, you now have 2 points to connect a dot. It has to at least happen 2 times so that you can draw a line for it to be a trend. But even then, 2 data points is not a lot. Even if we have an entire season, you can only speculate. It seems as though, although it's possible that, X, Y, and Z. Again, maybe by losing Tucker, who is a do-everything tight end, we now have a blocking tight end in Fitzpatrick and a receiving tight end in Musgrave. And so perhaps if we had Tucker, they would prefer Musgrave to be that number 2 for X, Y, and Z reasons. Without Tucker, they need Fitzpatrick more to do X and Y, and then they need Musgrave to do Z. So it's different without Tucker than with Tucker. So it doesn't mean that when Tucker comes back, it's the exact same thing. These are just examples. I have no idea. I'm just saying these are all different things that could possibly be true, enough so that we don't need to overreact and just make broad declarations as though we know something. Oh, it's over. It's not. Yeah. Freaking relax. Continuing with the grades, Dontavian Wicks, 67. These are receiving grades. Luke Musgrave, 67. Fitzpatrick, 67. Romeo, 62. Brooks, 59. And Wiley, 57. Now, again, you could jump in. Well, Romeo had a bad day and he had all those drops, so maybe that's why they gave him. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it has to do with, again, running the ball and blocking. Wicks is a big dude. Maybe they like him as a blocker more than Romeo. And yes, these are passing downs, but if you're running to the line after a run play, you don't switch out your personnel. So maybe that just happened to leave Wicks on the field more. I don't know. I'm just saying that as long as I can come up with any other possibility, then there's no reason to run to this one thing and say this is what it is. That's one possibility. This is another possibility. Could be this, could be that, could be 100 other things that I can't even imagine because I don't even know what the process is to come up with the game plan and game flow and game script and in-game, before game, all that stuff. I don't have no idea. You know what I mean? All right. Take a break. We'll come back. We'll look at the rushing grades, the offensive line, blocking, and all that kind of stuff, and then we'll do defense. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right, rushing grades. Chris Brooks actually had the highest rushing grade at a 72. Again, you can look at 21 yards and say he sucks. You can look at 2.6 yards per game or per attempt and say he sucks. That one's much more accurate. But PFF had him at a 72 grade, which is weird. Well, I don't know exactly what all goes into that because I can, but I didn't go back and look at every snap of every play, and I don't know their criteria. But let me give you a hint. 2.6 yards per attempt, 3.63 yards after contact per attempt. That is to say, on average, he was contacted 1 yard behind the line of scrimmage. On average, 3.63 yards after contact, 2.6 yards per attempt. I'm freaking at a loss with this offensive line, man. I'm just absolutely at a loss. Emmanuel Wilson, 66.7 grade. He had 3.8 yards per attempt, 3.36 after contact, meaning almost all of his yards were after contact. It's a rounding error. So the offensive line, at least for our starting two running backs in this game, provided nothing by way of blocking for our running backs. They didn't give them a freaking half a yard on average. Jordan Love with a 64 rushing grade, Malik with a 60, and Savion Williams with a 59.5. One attempt for 0 yards, basically a 60. All right, now to the offensive line. Rasheed Walker, 63 run blocking, 59 pass blocking. Rasheed is not having a good year. As I sit here and talk about Jordan Morgan likely taking over at the left tackle spot, you know, this reminds me very much of John Runyon and Josh Myers because I felt like they were always underrated. They did a good job. They took a big step that I don't think anybody really saw, and then it came to be decision time. And the thought in my mind was just keep it up or possibly take a third step. And both of them completely crapped the bed. They just looked awful. And not surprisingly, the Packers decided to move on. Rasheed Walker, the run blocking does seem to be improved. He had a 56 and a 53. It's currently a 61, so that's nice. The pass blocking, though, was a 75 and then an 80. So he's always been a good pass blocker, and he got better from year 1 to year 2. So again, if you could have, I don't even need you to get better, but let's just say you had a 55 run blocking and an 82 pass blocking, I am locking you in as our left tackle. Yeah, the run blocking could be better. We'll try to work on that with some other pieces. I'm not getting rid of a very good pass blocking left tackle. I'm just not doing it. This year, he dropped from an 80 to a 67.5. In fact, 2 of his 3 worst games were the last 2 weeks against the Giants and the Vikings. Not exactly elite pass rush teams. They have guys that can do stuff, kind of, whatever, especially the Giants, but there's no reason for this to be a unique challenge. He had a 50 pass blocking grade against the Giants, which was an anomaly. That was, again, he only had one other game, and that was against Cleveland, kind of understandable, where he had a bad day. Every other game's basically a 70. And then it went up to a 78 against Carolina, and 87 against Philly. Like, he was ramping up. All of a sudden, 50 and 59 against Minnesota. Those are, again, outside of Cleveland, these are his only games below a 60, and it's 2 weeks in a row. Now, again, maybe he's dealing with something. I don't know. But clearly, this is a big drop-off as a pass blocker. And considering he's not a good run blocker, I mean, he's providing nothing right now. And so I'm absolutely, at this point, seeing Jordan Morgan as our future left tackle. Now, I'm hoping Jordan Morgan can be a better left tackle. But again, I think he was in the offseason. Said this 1,000 times. I think he basically won the job. We lost our guard. Morgan got thrown into that, and then he got thrown into the other guard spot, whatever. I don't think he's a guard. I think he's a tackle. I think he does a good job. I think he can at least be what Rashid was in 2020, let's say 2023. 56 run blocking, 75 pass blocking. Is that elite? No. Would you like better for a first-round pick? Yeah, kind of. And by that, I mean, of course, but also, I mean, he's not a bust, which is at least 50% of draft picks are not going to be good at all in the first round. So I'll take it, I guess. But if Morgan can just be that at this point, I think we just have to do it. Especially if Rashid is looking for some kind of a big paycheck. We got a guy in a rookie contract that can play as good or better. Why am I paying you? So that my first rounder, who's better than you, can sit on the bench? That doesn't make any sense. And if Belton can lock that down, it's not impossible. It's unlikely, but it's not impossible. If Belton ends up being the right guard, that we may see Jordan Morgan slot over to the left tackle spot if Rashid continues like this. If there's a third week, especially against a premier opponent like Detroit. Now, I think Hawkinson usually is over on the right side, so he'll be against Zach Tom, I think, most of the time. I don't know how often they move him. But if he has another bad day, especially against not usually Hawkinson, and Morgan is just kind of hanging out because he's, not really that dude anymore at right guard or whatever, I would at least be interested, curious. I don't know if you want to do that now because, now Morgan hasn't been a left tackle since the preseason. Do we want to risk that? I don't know. But I'm just saying. We need Rashid to bounce back in a bit. He needs to bounce back for his own sake. I mean, this dude's playing for a contract and it's just like he doesn't feel like it anymore. Aaron Banks had a extremely mediocre game. 67 pass blocking, 58 run blocking. That's not even really Packers standards. I mean, 57 run blocking is acceptable by our standards, but you got to at least be in the 70s if you're going to be sub 60 run blocking. And considering you're a free agent who got a ton of money, I'm going to go ahead and hold you to a little bit of a higher standard there. With that said, I will say that kind of continues his more positive stretch with the Philly game being still an outlier. He generally is kind of like low 70s with an occasional 80. It's like 70, 80, 70, 80, outlier, 70, and then again kind of a 70. It's a 67. It's a little lower, but it kind of keeps him in that area. It's not good enough by any stretch. He's too inconsistent. There aren't nearly enough highs. He had 2 good run blocking games. Everything else has been at least below average. I mean, the second we have an opportunity to replace this guy, I would assume we do it. But, whatever. I'll take it at this point. Sean Ryan was a disaster. He was appalling, putrid. He needs to go. Losing Elton Jenkins is a disaster, and I'm legitimately scared at this point. He had a 65 run blocking grade, which is whatever. For Packer team, that's whatever, I guess. Man, oh man, he's currently at a 60 run blocking. For the season, how can I do? This is interesting enough. He had the exact same pass blocking grade as last week, if you remember that. Do you know what that is? A 16.6 2 weeks in a row. 16. He had a really good stretch from week 6 to week 10, which is weird because he played right guard, left guard, and center in that stretch. So it was 80, 79, 71, and 78. However, he also had a 41 against Washington, a 25 against Cleveland, a 40 against Dallas, and now 2 16.6s. My issue with Sean Ryan has always been he's very volatile. He'll have an 80 and then a 40, and then a 90 and then a 10, and then it's like it's all over the place. The bottom line though is you can't do this. This is terrible. We have right now for the last 2 weeks the worst center in football. It's not even close. We have to find a different solution. I don't know what it is. I don't think we have a solution right now. I don't know if and when Elton's coming back. But for all the people that are like, oh, we shouldn't pay Elton Jenkins and all, bro, pay everybody because you have to avoid this. And so with Elton Jenkins having like a 0.01% chance of being back for like a Super Bowl run, I don't know. I don't know what we do here. But this is a problem. He has a 39 pass blocking grade. I don't know. Bad. Real freaking bad. Right guard, again, we had Belton and Morgan. Both of them, I already went over it. Really bad run blocking. Disastrous run blocking. Nobody really had I think Sean Ryan was our best run blocker of the day at a 65, which just really goes to show what this freaking offensive line is. But Belton and Morgan were the worst. Belton 39.5, Morgan 35.5. However, they were also, I think, some of our best pass blockers outside of Zach Tom was the highest. Yes, we'll get there. But the second highest of the group was Anthony Belton, who had a 78 pass block. And that's at least a great start. Let's just start with really good pass blocking. Catastrophic pass blocking, I will never accept. Catastrophic run blocking is bad, but if you're keeping the quarterback safe, we can have a conversation, especially when it's your first time and all that stuff. If you can keep the pass blocking and just slightly improve the run blocking, I'll freaking get over it. We can't do this long term, but, in the short term, whatever. But a 77.8 pass blocking grade, it's a good start, I guess. It hasn't been a great start for him. But, we'll take it. He so far on the season has a 39 run blocking grade, basically 3 averages and 2 really bads at about a 40. And then this is his best pass blocking game so far, and it's his first at guard. And it's a 77.8, 60.6 on the season. We'll see, man. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. As for Jordan Morgan, the good news is the pass blocking. He hasn't had a good pass blocking game since week 8 against Pittsburgh, so this was kind of a bounce back for him, but the run blocking was just, I guess, too unacceptable to the team, and they just had to freaking pull him. I don't know. It's such a mess. It's such a freaking mess just trying to parse through this, man. I mean, Rashid is in like he's in a prove-it situation and doesn't feel like playing. Aaron Banks is a mess. He's all over the place. He's hurt. He's not good. Sean Ryan is a just ticking frickin' time bomb. Right guard, we can't even figure out who our right guard is. It was Sean Ryan, then Jordan Morgan. Now it's Anthony Belton. Neither of them can run block. I don't frickin' know. And then Zach Tom is not even playing up to his own standards. He had his best pass blocking game of the day, which is great, 85 PFF grade, but he also had his second worst run blocking game of the day, just a 60, so I hate to be too hard on him, but I'm just frustrated with the offensive line as a whole. It would be cool if Zach Tom was just playing to Zach Tom standards, but the run blocking just is not quite there. I don't know if he's still dealing with some lingering issues or whatever. I'm very happy to see the pass blocking where it is, but so far right now he's gone backwards in run and pass blocking from last year. 81 down to a 78 pass blocking. It's minor, but it's there. His run blocking is the biggest. It's gone from an 88 down to down to about an 80, 79.5. So nearly a 90 to nearly an 80. So really, really would like to get peak Zach Tom back, especially for this upcoming opponent, which is going to be one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, lined up nose-to-nose with Zach Tom. Last time he played Detroit, the run blocking wasn't great. It was a 56.4. That was his worst. But the pass blocking was a 77. He gave up 0 sacks, 0 hits, 0 hurries. That's what we need from Zach Tom. I really don't need peak Zach Tom in this game. I just need 0 sacks, 0 hits, 0 hurries Zach Tom in this game. But yes, it's freaking rough. It just is. So if we just look at pass blocking, Zach Tom was the highest at 85, Morgan 82, Belton 78, Kennard 74, Wiley, the tight end, a 71, Fitzpatrick a 71, Chris Brooks a 68, Aaron Banks with a 67, Emmanuel Wilson with a 66, Rashid a 59. So pretty much everybody, with the exception of one, was average or better, with most 6 out of the 11 total were 70 or higher. 2 of them were 80 and higher, Morgan and Tom. So again, the pass blocking, primarily a disaster based on just a few people, but it's fine. But Sean Ryan is, I mean, you look at like, why is it 40%? Dude, our right tackle gave up 0 pressures in this game. Jordan Morgan gave up, combined, Morgan and Belton gave up 1 pressure, and it was a hurry. Aaron Banks gave up 1 pressure. The biggest ones were Chris Brooks on his 10 snaps gave up 2 pressures. Rasheed Walker gave up 2, but he's a tackle. That's somewhat understandable, although one of them was a sack. And you heard the announcers kind of blaming the running back for that play where he kind of, pushed him too far or whatever. And then you have Sean Ryan gave up 4 pressures. And remember, usually outside in, the tackles give up the most, then the guards, then the center. The center gives up like no pressures. I swear there were seasons where we had centers giving up 4 pressures in a season. Probably not literally, but I mean, they don't give up pressures. You're on the interior. There's nowhere to go. It's the tackles that give up the pressures. 4 pressures in a game from a freaking center? 2 hits, 2 hurries from the center. Come on, guys. Almost half of the pressures, 10 pressures, almost half, 4 from Sean Ryan, the center. Yeah, if we go back to like our last actual good center, Corey Linsley, his final year in Green Bay, and granted this was a little bit of an outlier, but he played the entire season. I don't think he missed a single game. Do you know how many pressures he gave up in a season? 7. Corey Linsley in 2020 gave up 7 pressures on the season, and 5 of them came the last 3 games. So you got 2 playoff games, like really good team, whatever. He gave up 3 in the playoffs. He gave up 2 in week 17 against Chicago, meaning he gave up 2 from weeks 1 through 16. 1 sack, 2 hits, 4 hurries for the entire season. Again, outlier, but still, the point stands. You're a center. You shouldn't be giving up 4 in a game. Looking at run blocking, obviously nowhere near as good. Hilariously, the only 2 good run blockers were tight end Josh Wiley and tight end Luke Musgrave. Musgrave didn't have a pass blocking grade because they didn't ask him to do it, but in his 15 run blocking attempts, had a 70 grade. Incredible. He's really, that's 2 weeks in a row. He has not had a single bad blocking grade. In fact, how far back does that go? At least 2 weeks. You could call it 3. He had about a 60, it was a 58, but about a 60 run blocking grade against Philly and a 70 pass blocking grade. In fact, he has a 76 pass blocking grade on the season. They don't pass block very often, but he's never had a bad pass blocking grade. The run blocking has been bad through week 9, but then again, since then it was about a 60, which was one of his best at the point, and now it's a 72 and a 70. So, again, it's just 2 weeks, but considering he's never been good at it, and then had 2 outlier games in a row, I mean, let's see. I don't know. Interesting enough. After that, though, you got about mediocre 60-something grades from Sean Ryan, Fitzpatrick, Dobbs, Walker, Heath, Wicks, Williams, Willis, Wilson, Brooks, Love, for some reason, Zach Tom. This is below a 60, but still average. Aaron Banks at a 58, Kennard 54, Christian Watson at a 54, and then Belton and Morgan are the two just, dog crap ones at the bottom here. Okie dokie, let's take our final break, and we'll look at the defense. All right. On the negative side, looking at a below 55, just 3. And of those 3, 2 of them really didn't play very much. Nazir Stackhouse, who, he isn't playing a ton, and he's a rookie. We'll see how it goes. That said, he's a UDFA with a 44 grade on the season. It's just really not been good for him, period. He's a 320-pound guy is supposed to come in and be the run defender. He has a 41.9 run defense grade. So an area that the Packers have struggled with is finding those big nose tackle types, and that issue seems to be continuing. It's one of the things I think we should investigate next year. The other that didn't really play very much is Van Ness. He only played 6 snaps. They gave him a 54 grade, so slightly below average. 4 of his snaps were run defense. He had a 58 grade in that. 2 of them were pass rush. They gave him a 58 grade in that. So doesn't mean much, basically average across the board. The only starter that graded out quite low, and this is becoming a bit of a habit here, is Devontae Wyatt. Wyatt, who got off to an extremely hot start, has really struggled since he came back from injury. He not as much as a pass rush. He did have the 2 sacks, which is great and everything, even though he didn't get a super high pass rush grade. Basically since week 10. I don't know if there's a new issue with an injury or what exactly the issue is, but it's been awful. In those 3 weeks, he's graded out 33, 33, and 44, mostly because of run defense, where he graded out 41, 36, and 38. Just really, really bad. But also the pass rush grades have not been very good. 56, 51, and this week a 62. He hasn't been... This was his first week at 10%, 2 pressures on 19 attempts. Both of those were sacks. Prior to that, he had 0 pressures on 16 attempts, 1 on 16, 1 on 17. And so in that stretch, not even close to 10% overall. Before that, he had 3 on 27, so right at 10%, then 0 on 7, 2 on 24. So really, as far as the pressures go, the first 2 weeks were really good. After that, it's been a bit of a struggle. It's always somewhat limited in terms of opportunities. He's sitting at about 15 pass rush attempts a game, so he's, getting maybe 1-ish per game, which is not good enough. The issue with Wyatt has always been, I know you're not a great run defender, but you're very athletic and I need you to be a good pass rusher. And to start the season, it looked like that was going to be a thing. And again, maybe he really only played 3 weeks before he got hurt. He was hurt, it looks like prior to the middle of the Dallas game. So, it's probably that, to be honest, because he was solid before that. But even on the season now, he's at exactly 10%. So he's down to 10%. He has 20 pressures and 4 sacks on 200 attempts. So, I don't know. We'll see. You can certainly see where the injury could have caused some problems. You also could just look at it and say the first 2 weeks were kind of outliers, I don't know. It was a knee injury, so I'm not sure, but it would be nice to get Wyatt back. He was kind of right around in the 60s as a run defender through week 9, which is great for him. But again, 40, 30, 30 the last 3 weeks. Hasn't really been imposing as a pass rusher basically since week 2. He's kind of there hovering around 10% with no sacks until this week, where he did have the 2. And again, I don't mean to detract from it, but I don't know that they were necessarily quick sacks. It was more of a Micah Parsons scared the crap out of somebody right into Wyatt's arms. So I don't know. I also think, and this is all just speculation, but we've seen at around the same time, Rashawn Gary's numbers have gone down. Micah Parsons, there was questions about he disappeared. What happened to Parsons? I somewhat speculate if there has been a big emphasis on stopping the run, because that's really the only way you're going to beat this defense. If you can just consistently run the ball down their throat, they're in big trouble. The Packers want you to pass. They want to get you in 3rd and long. But it's all the stuff up and to that point that is somewhat problematic. And so I don't know. But again, whenever you see a thing where it's like, oh, Rashawn is breaking out and Wyatt's breaking out and everybody's just having this great season, and all of a sudden everybody at the exact same time, kind of their numbers go down. You wonder if maybe it's a let's not be so aggressive and give up these big rushing lanes. Let's not go absolutely crazy. Like sometimes you'll see Wyatt like way around, like over by the tackle, trying to loop around and make a play. And it's like, you got to have some discipline here, you know, and the edge rushers just going straight around the corner. I mean, if they hand the ball off, we're kind of screwed on the run there a little bit. And so, you know, it's not impossible that there's a little bit of a let's try to focus on maintaining some gap integrity or whatever. And the problem is, once you see, okay, it's a pass play now, it's not a run play, you can't just reset and be like, never mind, I want to rush all the way. No, you're locked in. You're kind of just locked in there, and you're trying to hand fight around a guy or push through a guy or something to that effect, as opposed to getting that jump around the edge or something. If you have to start disciplined inside watching for a run, and then you see it's just a play action, trying to get to the quarterback at that point, it is way harder. And so again, I don't know that, but that's kind of a thought that I've had for the last 3 or 4 weeks with the whole Rashawn Gary thing, with the whole, you know, I mean, Micah not recently, but, you know, questions about his stats and like, oh, he's disappeared because the sacks aren't there and everything. I think there's at least a chance that Hafley's trying to get out in front of something, and that is kind of self-scouting. If you look at Hafley's defense and the players that we have, if you want to beat them, just run it down their throat. You don't want to pass against this team. You know, at first, teams did pass, but they did a lot of the quick passing stuff, but that wasn't really working. You're seeing teams really, like the Vikings especially, lean into that run. We're only running the ball today, kind of a thing. And it kind of looked like it was going to work, and that was really scary. And so you can see where you kind of pull back a little bit, and you're like, all right, I love the fact that we got elite pass rushers, but we can't just be firing off the ball heading for the quarterback. We have to have some lane integrity here, some gap discipline. Just a thought. And again, they're still getting it done, and on 3rd down, I still trust that they're going to get home, but the problem with these cumulative numbers is that getting to that 3rd and long where you know it's a pass down situation, you've had multiple plays where you weren't playing it like a pass down, and that's probably hurting your cumulative numbers. Like, in other words, if I wanted to test my theory, I would just go back and look at known passing situations to see how they handled as pass rushers. If they couldn't do that, okay, maybe there's a bigger problem. And I'm not even necessarily going to say true pass sets, because I wonder if that's not even isolated enough. I mean, I would primarily just be looking at maybe 2nd and long, definitely 3rd and long, and then kind of at the end of the game, which, by the way, is when he got sacked like 4 out of his 5 times. So I think once the defense can pin their ears back, you're going to see a much better pass rush. It's just they're not playing that way through 4 downs. You know what I mean? Again, I don't know this. It's just speculation. And the problem for Wyatt is that we're playing to his weaknesses. Hey, guys, let's not be wild and crazy and athletic, and let's just try to hold the point of attack. Dude, that's not Wyatt's game. That's not his deal. You want Wyatt on those 3rd and longs, not on, you know, a 2nd and 2 or a 3rd and 2. No offense to Wyatt, but I mean, it is what it is. So anyways, that's just a thought that I've had bouncing around in my head that I'm somewhat curious about. What the heck were we talking about? Okay, so those were the 3 below 55 grades. Again, really only Devontae Wyatt, and it was really only because of his run defense grade. And again, usually I kind of give a pass on that, but it's really bad, and it's been 3 weeks in a row, and so it's a problem, especially when it's not accompanied by elite pass rush. The 2 sacks are great, but it was his only 2 pressures of the game. It really just put him at exactly 10%. The fact that he happened to get the quarterback down, I know that's a big bonus, but at the same time, you know, whatever. On the positive side, without heavy rounding, there were only 4. With a little heavier rounding, 68 for Evan Williams, 68 for Kingsley Enagbare, 69 for Bullard, who just continues to impress me. I mean, I keep waiting for that shoe to fall for Bullard to get that one game in the 30s or 40s or 50s even. And again, I'll do this every freaking week because I'm just so happy about Bullard because I was kind of all the way out, which I know is stupid because it's only 1 year, but we so rarely see that second year jump that I just was not really a believer, and I'm still kind of holding out a little bit. But the first 4 weeks looked bad. 40, 60, 40, 58. So call it 40, 60, 40, 60. Like, here we go again. Javon Bullard, he ain't that dude. Since then, 70, 70, 70, 60, 60, 70, 70. And it's been, like, consistent. It's low 70s and high 60s. So it's, like, exactly 70 almost every week. 72, 73, 69, 64, 67, 73, 69. He's just right there. To make matters better, or slightly worse because it's balanced on either side, the first 3 weeks of him being a good player was primarily his run defense, with the coverage being fine, right? Mid-60s. But the run defense was kind of putting him above in the tackling. Since then, it's been the coverage. Now, the negative being the run defense has gone back down, and the tackling too, but the coverage has really gone up. So if you look at the run defense, since his becoming a good player, it was 82-79, and then 60-40, 60-50, 60. So we're kind of getting into that mid-bad thing with the run defense. Coverage, however, since week 6 when he kind of took off, and this is post-bye, by the way, which I always love that. I love when you see a big change happen right after a bye because it's like, oh, they figured something out. They figured out how to play Bullard or the coverage or whatever the case, but it's working, right? He was not playing well, and then there's a very clear distinction right after the bye. Week 6's coverage grades 69, 67, 68, 77, 63, 81, 70. So he didn't have a single game in the 70s. But after the bye, it was all high 60s, so kind of like, oh, this is decent. And since then, it's been high 70, 60, 81, 70. So 3 games out of his last 4 have been 70 or higher, with 2 of them at or near 80. He also has 2 pass breakups on the season. Both of them came these last 2 weeks. He also has given up, since week 9, the yardage given up 0, 6, 11, and 5 as our starting slot corner. 224 yards on the season. He hasn't given up, the most yardage he's given up was week 1, it was 72. So many announcements. The next most was week 2, it was 39 yards. After that was 36 yards week 8 against, I mean, he doesn't give up anything to anyone. It's funny because I forget the guy's our starting corner. I don't see him. Do you see him? The last time he gave up more than 2 receptions was week 8 against Pittsburgh. He gave up 5 receptions for 36 yards. He hasn't given up a single touchdown all year. He hasn't had any interceptions, and just the 2 pass breakups. And again, I kind of think the pass breakup against Minnesota was the ball that was thrown at his elbow. So I don't know how much credit you get for that. But just in terms of I don't know you exist, I love those players. As DBs, I don't want to know that you exist. Occasionally come up and make a play. All right, that's our safeties. I haven't seen McKinney. The only time I see McKinney is in the locker room interviews. I never see him. I don't know where he is. I don't know what he does. I'm not sure if he's playing. I won't know until the game's over. Evan Williams, same thing. I don't see Evan Williams. Occasionally he comes up and makes a play in the backfield or comes up and makes a tackle, and apparently occasionally gets picks now, but I don't know that he exists. And I love that. I don't want to know Valentine, Bullard, and Nixon. I don't know who you are. And I freaking love that. Because we know what it's like to have bad corners. We've had lots of bad corners over the years. And you absolutely know they're on the team. They're getting thrown at deep down the field. You see them struggling to keep up in coverage. Kevin King just running for his life trying to catch up to somebody. No offense, Kev. We had some good times and all, but it just didn't pan out. And I don't know if it's the fear of the pass rush, if it's the Hafley scheme or what it is, but I don't care. It makes me so happy to just not know you exist. That means you're doing a great job. That's it. Well, you only got a 69 coverage grade. Yeah, how did you do? 3 targets, 1 reception, 5 yards, and a pass breakup. Could be a 60, could be a 90. I could give a crap. You're not a liability as a corner. You are my best friend. I love you. I'll be honest, I don't think we've done a Bullard song. I just don't think we've done it. We've done a lot of songs about players that ended up being pretty bad. I think there are some deserving people. We haven't done a McKinney song, an Evan Williams song. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. Maybe it's too soon, but It's worth considering. And then I don't even remember who I went through here, but Javon Bullard here, again, right there at a 70. I keep waiting for the fall off. It doesn't happen. It's not the highest grade in the world, but I mean, if Bullard stays at a 69-ish and doesn't give, bro, I'm permanently happy with that second round pick. Speaking of second round picks, Edgerrin Cooper's back in the win column. He's been having a little bit of a down year, but 2 good weeks in a row, 69.9 last week, 71 this week. No real elite games, but as long as he can stop the 40s, like his 48 against Philly and his 49 against Arizona, he'll be fine with some 70s and 80s, but he's had some issues occasionally, and I don't know. Again, it could be a change in the scheme, in the way that we're playing. You know, Hafley's always making adjustments. You always have to, based on your personnel, based on the way offenses start playing you. They've been playing us very different this year, which means you have to do things differently. That probably, in some ways may put more stress on the linebackers. Whatever. It is what it is. But another good day for Edgerrin, so that's great. Micah Parsons, not his normal massively elite self, although kind of. Still a 72 grade. His biggest knock that they gave him was run defense and especially tackling because he had a missed tackle. Oh, God forbid. But the stats are perfectly fine. Another good day for Micah, which is great because he also, again, since week 8, and one of those things worth tracking. I think Rashawn is around that time. Wyatt is in and around that time. It kind of fell off, right? So Micah was 90, 82, 94, 78, 93. Starting in week 8, it was 59, 66, 65. Like 3 weeks of like, what's that? The stats are still fine, but it's still kind of a what's going on here thing. And then it was 90, 72. So he's back. Let's hope. It's just completely back. He needs to be because we got a big Lions game coming up and we could use another 90 some odd score from you. But again, still that question of did they make a schematic change around that time period? Good question for the film folk out there, or the media members if they get in front of Hafley, I guess, if you feel like it. Then, second highest graded player, Mr. Xavier McKinney, the other invisible man. Don't know that he exists. He actually got off to a little bit of a rough start as far as the grades go. It was 50-50 was his first 2 weeks, and then it was 70-60-60. So in the first 5 weeks, even though it was going up, it's like, bro, you had one good game in 5 weeks? That's kind of rough. Again, what does that translate to? It translated to receptions being 1-2, 1-1-1. Yards given up 32, 16, 17, 7, and 13. I mean, it is nothing really catastrophic. 0 touchdowns, which is on the season. 1 interception, 1 pass breakup. So it didn't really translate to anything bad, but for whatever reason, they watched the film and they're like, it wasn't the best. Since then, though, and again, this is around the corners and everything starts doing better. The pass rush starts to do a little work. Like, you know what I mean? Might have been some kind of a schematic change or something. Even if you start at week 3 on, I guess is pretty solid. But certainly by week 7, it was 78, 72, 82, 68, 74, 76. So, I mean, since week 7, he has just been locked in, locked on, freaking ready to rock and roll. Off to, again, kind of a slow start with everything, but he's up to a 79 grade, 79 run defense, 90 tackling, 89 pass rush, 78 coverage. Now, the coverage is his lowest since his kind of like breakout thing in 2013, but again, it's improving since about week 7. 70, 60, 70, 60, 70, 70. So that'll, as long as he continues, that'll work its way up. Probably not back up to the 90s where it normally is, but his 89 pass rush grade is the best of his career. His 90.3 tackling grade is currently the best of his career. His 79 run defense grade is currently the best of his career. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. Like, he has good instead of elite coverage, but also like elite across the board in terms of run defense, tackling, and even pass rush, which he hasn't done a ton. In fact, he's done almost none, but still, 4 attempts, he has 1 pressure, and it was a sack. Again, they like to keep him way in the backfield for obvious reasons, and he is such an awesome piece for this defense. He is very similar to Micah Parsons in a way, even though Parsons does make the big plays. It's the threat of him that transforms what offenses do against us. So that even if he's not a high, like, last year he was a high impact guy with all the picks. And then when the picks spin away, it's like, oh, he's not good anymore. No, he's the same freaking guy. The picks are obviously massive. But the fact of the matter is, because of all those interceptions, that transformed. Everybody just ripped out half their playbook, and they're like, screw that, dude. We're not doing that anymore. Now you add Micah, and they're ripping out another half. Just the threat of McKinney and Micah. I freaking love it. I freaking love having a good defense. It's so weird, but it's great. And then the highest graded defender, Isaiah McDuffie, 86.4 grade. McDuff, I think he had a bad week last week, didn't he? He did. The last couple weeks were rough. So he's had a great season. And then Philly and the Giants were really rough games for him. So it was kind of like two out of nowhere bad games. And then boom, we're back. Best game he's had all season. His grades so far, 56, 79, 72, 80, 71, 80, 59, 82. That was kind of his like really good stretch. And then it was 47, 47, and 86. So on the season, and his grades have always been like high 50s. Right now he's at 75, 68 run defense, 77 tackling, 71 pass rush, 73 coverage. Those are career highs in every single category. Overall run defense, tackling, pass rush, and coverage, career highs. So big shout out to McDuffie as we're trying to kind of sort through things, as some things are going backwards, as we're dealing with injuries, as we're doing all these things, and we need guys to step up. Guys like McDuffie are stepping up, and that's huge. Specifically, we're looking at run defense. It was not great. Nobody had even a 70 grade. The bad, Stackhouse, again, the guy who gets paid to do exactly that, had a 49.9. Brinson had a 43. Valentine with a 39. And Devontae Wyatt, again, not great for a defensive tackle, but kind of expected from him. 37.9, call it 38. The best was Gary at a 69 and Kingsley at a 69.5. You could certainly round that up to a 70, but for the sake of illustration, that's not great. I'm glad to have guys like Inigbari and Gary, though, who seem to do a pretty good job holding that down. I think Van Ness does as well. Obviously, his first game back and pretty rusty and whatnot. We'll see, but generally speaking, he's quite good at that. Micah's at least average at that. I think it was a little bit of an off day today, especially against this offensive line that came back fully healthy. It'll be interesting to see what's going on with the Lions. I know they've had some issues with some of the young guys as well as injuries. I don't know the current status on that, but that'll be interesting to check out. Pass rush, not a lot of bad and actually quite a bit of good, which is unusual. Usually the stats are good, the grades are not. Below a 55 is barely Rashawn Gary, right at a 55, although his stats are phenomenal. He's always that guy. His stats are great. His grades are bad, which, again, I think it's a consistency grade is what it is. Colby Wooden, 54.2. Again, basically a 55. On the positive side, McDuffie with a 73. Just 2 attempts. On that was a sack. Micah Parsons with his 75. I'll get to the stats in a minute, but he had a good day. And then Warren Brinson, the guy that I was, again, kind of disappointed with because the one time I saw him, I wasn't happy with what happened, but actually had a really good day looking at the stats. So that's exciting. Because remember, Warren Brinson is a 6th-round rookie. He has not played very much. He did play weeks 6 and 7. Played a little bit 10-11, which were really bad grades, but I mean, it's kind of like Van Ness. It's hard to get into a rhythm when you play 6 snaps. You know what I mean? Or against Philly, 9 snaps. But if you look at the games he actually played, week 6 against Cincinnati, he had an 85 grade with an 81 pass rush grade, which is really high. Arizona, he played 33 snaps. That's the one he played the most. It was a 61 grade, so still above average. 72 run defense is great. 70 tackling, but 48 pass rush, so the pass rush struggled. And then this week against Minnesota, 21 snaps. 64 grade, 43 run defense, which is bad. So he had 1 bad run defense grade, 2 good. And then an 84 pass rush. So he had a 48 pass rush grade in Arizona. That's bad. His other 2 games that he actually started, 81 and 84. Again, we just got a couple dots to connect, but I'm a little excited about some of these dots connecting for Warren Brinson as a pass rusher a little bit. Another Georgia Bulldog. Kind of intriguing. We'll get to his stats for the week, which are really good. But on the season, he's at a 12.5% pressure rate, which is great, and a sack, obviously, because he had a sack in this game. So really just played in 3 games and has a 12.5% pressure rate. The run defense, again, is not great, but pass rush seems to be on point. highest graded pass rusher. Coverage grades, 0 below 55, which is fantastic. With a little bit of rounding, Evan Williams, 67, Edgerrin Cooper, 68, Javon Bullard, 70, McKinney, 71, McDuffie, 88. We'll save the pressure stats for last because they're the most fun. Missed tackles, Gary, Parsons, Bullard, and Kamal Hadden each had 1. Carrington Valentine with 2. Stops, McKinney and Igbare, Wooden, Cooper, and Hadden had 1. Gary, Parsons, Wyatt had 2. Evan Williams had 3, and McDuffie had 4. What a great day for McDuffie, my goodness. Passing coverage statistics. Nobody was targeted more than 3 times. That's one of the lowest I think I've ever seen. I guess it's because they didn't really throw it all. 3 targets, 3 receptions for Bullard, but just for 17 yards and a pick. So that's a great day. Evan Williams, 3 targets, 2 receptions, 23 yards and a pick. That's a great day. Javon Bullard, 3 targets, 1 reception, 5 yards, and a pass breakup. So the 3 guys that were targeted the most frickin' dominated. Then you have Kamal Hadden, who has done a really fantastic job so far coming in as a replacement corner. It's kind of a weird situation where Keyshawn played 13 snaps and Kamal Hadden played 31. I'm guessing we're kind of rotating based on injury. Don't know. Again, it's just kind of a put it in our back pocket thing. 2 targets, 2 receptions, 12 yards. That's a great day. Edgerrin Cooper, 2 targets, 1 reception, 4 yards. That's a great day. Keyshawn Nixon, 2 targets, 2 receptions, 22 yards. I'll pick on him a little bit, only because he only played 7 snaps in coverage. On a full day, 2 targets, 2 receptions, 22 yards is not terrible, but it is the second most yards given up. It's 2 targets, both of them were caught, and you only played 7 snaps. Xavier McKinney, 1 target, 1 reception, 4 yards. Carrington Valentine, 2 targets, 0 receptions. On the day, 18 targets, 12 receptions, 87 yards, 2 interceptions, and a pass breakup. Have yourselves a day, boys. You could also add Tyron Hopper, 6 snaps in coverage, 0 targets. Didn't that happen last week, too? He's played so far 11 snaps in coverage. Not very much. I mean, he had 1 against Detroit, 1 against Cleveland, 1 against Pittsburgh, 2 against the Giants, and 6 against Minnesota. But in total, he's played 11 snaps in coverage. He has not been targeted once yet. So he's doing something right. I like Tyron Hopper, man, if I haven't made that clear. So far on the season, 72 grade, which is great for a second-year player. He had a 61 as a rookie. He's up to a 72, although, almost even if you combine the seasons, there's almost no snaps, but still. 62 run defense grade, 76 tackling grade, which is a massive improvement from last year's 49, and his coverage grade went from a 53 to a 76. He has not been used as a pass rusher once yet, but he does have 4 tackles, which is relatively high considering how little he's played. 0 missed tackles, 1 stop, 0 targets. I'm all about it. All about it. All right. Pressures. 18 pressures and 6 sacks in the game. 6 because we don't count half sacks. Not actually 6, but 6 people get credited for sacking the quarterback. On the negative side, I mean, Bullard had 1 attempt, Van Ness 2, Cooper 2, Carl Brooks 1, Carrington Valentine 1. Carl Brooks didn't even hardly play. That's pretty wild. Colby Wooden is the only guy that played any amount of significant snaps and didn't get a pressure, but it was 9, so not a ton. With that said, McDuffie 2 attempts and 1 pressure, which was a sack. That's fantastic. Devontae Wyatt had 2 pressures, 2 sacks on 19 attempts. Again, that's good, especially because they're sacks, right at about 10%. Kingsley and Igbare had 2 pressures on 9 attempts, which is really good. I did that wrong. 2 divided by 9, 22%. Fantastic. What's he doing on the year? 66 grades, 69 run defense, 58. Yeah, the pass rush hasn't actually been very good. 59 pass rush, 13 pressures, 1 sack on 151 attempts. So it's not great. This week was pretty good, but overall not great. Rashawn Gary, 4 pressures on 20 attempts. Pretty easy math, but that's wild. I think Gary kind of needed a day like this. He's been, again, kind of riding that 10% thing. 2 pressures, 18 attempts. 2 pressures, 18 attempts. 3 on 18, which is good. 5 on 31, which is good. It's really just been the 2 weeks. Those 2 weeks, which were, again, he hasn't been, what games was he below 10%? Dallas. Literally his only game below 10%. 5-4-4-0, 4-4-5-3, 2-2-4. It's because he doesn't have sacks that everybody's calling him a ghost, but he is pressuring the quarterback at really solid rates. In fact, on the season now, 37 divided by 294. Yeah, he's at 12.6%. Again, not elite, like Rashawn Gary's been in that 17-18 category, but there's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, he is a consistent pass rusher that is a good run defender, too. He has a 74 run defense grade for an edge rusher. That's fantastic, and he's always been good at that. His run defense grades have been better than his pass rush grades for the last 3 years, which I know doesn't make anybody super excited. But, I mean, even on the sack front, even though it's been 4 weeks since he's had a sack, which obviously is disappointing, he's at 7 sacks. He had 9 all of last year. He had 7 in the first 8 weeks, which is almost as many as he had all of 2024. So I would assume, fingers crossed, he's going to surpass. He'll probably have one of his best seasons, potentially his best season if he can start getting some sacks here. But, I mean, he's been at double-digit sacks, and this is PFF sacks, not like, official sacks. Double-digit sacks twice. He had 10 in 2023 and 12 in 2021. He's at 7. I think he gets to 10. Fingers crossed. I really hope, pending any injury, he just needs 3 more. We have, maybe it's asking a lot, but if you include the playoffs in that, we got presumably at least 1 playoff game coming up. So however many games we have plus 1 more, I think he at least matches his total and, has the potential here to actually get to or surpass his best season ever in terms of sack numbers. Pressures, probably not. Sacks, I think he can get there, but he's got to get back on the scoreboard a little bit. And again, I do think there's a good chance it's because, especially for Rashawn, I think, let's just thought experiments say that what I'm saying is true, that they're kind of honing in a little bit on the run defense. I think it hurts Rashawn a lot more than, let's say, an athletic guy. Because when you kind of like hold your ground, you just kind of grab a guy, and then it's like, oh, that was play action, now I got to go. Mike is the kind of guy that can be like, okay, now I'm going to start running around, and he has the speed and bend to still make that a thing. Rashawn is going to try to use his power to push a guy back and everything. He doesn't have that kind of... He's a bull rusher, And so a lot of, I think, what Rashawn does is firing off the ball right off the bat. And if you take that away from him because he needs to kind of hold his ground, which, again, he does a very good job, I think it's going to more negatively impact Rashawn than maybe some other guys. And I think Van Ness is probably in that category too. I don't see him as a kind of a guy that, once he's locked in, he's going to do some crazy athletic stuff. He's a big, strong freaking bull, But I'm again, it all just comes down to team success. And if you're contributing to that team success, I'm very happy with what you're doing. And I think Rashawn is contributing to that. And I know people get frustrated about stuff like the sack numbers, but just trust me when I tell you, he's still there. He's still contributing. The pressure he's putting on quarterbacks is very important to the team. He is one of the best pressure guys on the team. The sacks have stopped for the last 4 weeks. I think he's been really close. But, it is what it is. There's been changes, but he's playing his role. He's doing a good job. He's helping. He's one of the only guys helping in the run game. I understand he got paid a lot of money, and you have high expectations for his sack numbers. I get that. And we can have a discussion about, is he meeting, especially with the snap counts and all that, is he meeting his price? Maybe not. I don't know. But it is what it is. I just, if we're going to start nitpicking the contracts and everything, look, I just want you to be a good player. Yes, there's definitely higher standards. But I think we're underrating the role that Rashawn is playing, and I think we're underrating his capabilities if we unleash him. But I think we are kind of playing offense and defense. Again, I think fans are mad because offense and defense were being very careful and cautious and slow and conservative. And it's working, but the fans are mad because they want high-flying, I want crazy, just go get them, pin your ears back, go get the sack and all that kind of stuff. But that's going to give up big plays, and that's going to leave us vulnerable. We probably still win with that, but very similar to how we won offensively. Why? Third and 3. Again, my mentality was run the ball, kick the field goal, and that's what we did. But I think fans are looking at just drop back and throw it, go get a touchdown. Why? We're going to bury these people. I had to cycle through a lot of naughty words. Gonna bury these guys. We're gonna run it. Maybe we get a first down, maybe we don't, but I'm not going to take any risks. We're gonna cram it down your throat, and we're gonna get more points to just keep piling points on you. I don't care if they're field goals. It's death by 1,000 cuts. It's Chinese water torture. That's all we're doing. We're slowly suffocating you. I thought it was a thing of beauty. It was vicious what they did. But everybody wants like big, just go bomb it down the field. Let's go. Don't need to. We're just going to slowly beat you to death. I genuinely, I thought it was a thing of beauty what we were able to do to them. And to have such a slow game still be such a massive victory. We beat them by so many points. It's ridiculous. But, you know, I think we should focus on the results a little bit more than we focus on some of the other stuff. Because we tend to think that the results are not really a byproduct of the way we're playing because we don't like the way that we're playing. Yeah, it worked, but it would have worked better if you did it my way. Let's not assume that. Look, if things are bad, then we can have a discussion of why and who's to blame and all that. If things are really, really, really good, let's just not mess with it and see how it goes. Okay, so Rashawn had 4 pressures on 20 attempts. Micah had 4 pressures on 23 attempts, so slightly worse in terms of pressures, but 2 sacks. And so that's what's obviously going to stand out. The takeaway for most fans is going to be Micah was great, Rashawn was terrible, even though technically on a pressure rate base, Rashawn Gary was better. But Micah getting those 2 sacks. And I don't mean to undermine the sacks and the value of those sacks. They're much more important than hits and hurries. By the way, Rashawn, 2 hits, 2 hurries. Micah, 2 sacks, 1 hit, 1 hurry. Sacks are the most valuable pressure, assuming we're not talking about Rashawn Gary getting a pressure that hits the quarterback's arm that turns into a pick. In that case, that is better than a sack. But again, we just, some perspective. However, the best news of the day, our best pass rusher was Warren Brinson, and it wasn't close. He led the team in pressures with 5, while only having 14 pass rush attempts. 5 divided by 14, he's at 35.7, call it 36% pressure rate and a sack. That's crazy stuff. So we have very little information about Mr. Warren Brinson. He hasn't played a ton. But considering we need help, and we're also seeing maybe some snap counts being reduced for some other guys. You know, if we look at the snap, you know, again, just putting it in the back pocket, but it's worth mentioning. Looking at defensive tackles, Wyatt was our number 1, not surprisingly, 34 snaps. Then it was Wooden at 23. Then it was Brinson at 21. Then it was Brooks at 4. So let me look at Brooks's. I mean, I think this is kind of new for Brinson. Brinson last week had just 6. Brooks, man. Did Brooks get hurt? Yeah, he was questionable coming. He played, but he was questionable coming into the game. So that must be why they held it. Because I was going to say he is very much a starter. I mean, he plays 40 snaps a game. This guy, so they're not going to just drop him to 6 or 4 out of nowhere. So yeah, he, like Van Ness and some other guys, they played but kind of didn't, which I don't fully understand that. I mean, if he's hurt, 4 snaps. What snaps were they? They must have been like the most critical of the game where they're like, bro, just this is where we need you. Like Savion on that 3rd down. Like, you're going to play one play, but it's going to save this game for us. Get out there, big guy. It's a weird thing to say, yeah, they're ready, but they're also way too hurt to play any more than 4. So just don't play them. Just sit them. It's weird. Unless he played early and then they kind of pulled him because he had an injury or something, you know what I mean? Anywho, great opportunity for Brinson there. You know, when we need you to step up in place of Brooks and you come out and do something like that. Granted, Brooks is probably going to be a better run defender just based on this little information we have here. But he's standing out as a pass rusher a little bit. Again, way too early to know for sure. Could be a fluke. He might be a great run defender, terrible pass rusher. He might be bad, good. Who knows? But I'm at least intrigued by our Georgia Bulldog defensive tackle, of which we have, 3 now? We got Wyatt, Brinson, and Stackhouse. Why not, man? Okie doke. Well, this has gone way longer than I thought it was. So I guess we'll just stop it there. great day by the team in general. Obviously, still some stuff that makes you nervous. You look at a couple of those things and go, boy, man, you do that against the Lions, we might be in trouble. We need better than that. But for every guy that was disappointing, you got other guys that are stepping up. They're filling in and doing great things, which we heard from somebody that called in yesterday, highlighted that. The replacements coming in and doing some stuff, which, by the way, I know people hate this, but that was a big thing in our Super Bowl run. We had critical pieces go down. You had these undrafted free agents come in and be like, who the heck is freaking Sam Shields or whatever? Comes in and just dominates. Like, okay. It just, that'll do, pig. That'll do. But, all right, I'm going to get out of here. I might try to see if there's any recommendations for a song. We'll throw it up on social media and see. I'll give it a few minutes, see if anybody responds. Otherwise, I'll just do whatever. Follow me on Twitter, by the way, Pack_Daddy, because usually I'll throw something out there randomly and I'll give you about 30 seconds to respond before I move on with my life. So you gotta be quick. All right, I got it. I got it. No need for social media. Rage Against the Machine, Bulls on Parade for Bullard. Bull _S, Bulls on Parade. You know what I'm saying? Come on, that's pretty good. Shut up, here's the song. Have a good one. I'll talk to you tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Have a good one. Bye.
Come with it now. Come with it now. The bull from Elizabeth got the rings on his fist. Two-time national champ, cross him off your list. Georgia dog pedigree with the green and gold frame. 58 in the draft, remember the name. Nickel safety dime, he don't need one spot. Play to play, he slide to wherever it's hot. Peach Bowl MVP, laid the crown prince flat. Title game, 2 picks, where your offense at. They move him anywhere and he still deliver. Run it at the ball and he take what you give him. Bulls on parade, come with it now. Bulls on parade, come with it now. Come with it now. Second round selection, first round soul, Lambo, frozen tundra, can't stop patrol. 85 tackles, that was just year 1. Clear protocol, he came back to stun. Played through the shoulder, played through the foot. Cast in the boot, couldn't stop what he put. He said, I don't know no other way. If you can play, you play every single day. Brotherhood, the G on his chest, he ride. Anything for the squad, that's the